Hey everyone, and welcome. So, picture this. You're meeting someone new, maybe at a party, maybe at school. What's one of the first questions you usually ask? Yep, it's almost always, what do you do? Today, we're going to get really good at asking and answering questions about jobs and what we do every day. Let's jump right in.
Here it is, the big one. What do you do? It's such a simple, friendly question, but it's how we ask about someone's job in English. Seriously, you're going to hear this one all the time, so let's get super comfortable with it.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with that main question. Then we'll build up our vocabulary with different jobs and the places people work. After that, we'll get into the grammar we need, the simple present tense. Then we'll see it all in action in a real conversation, and finally, we'll talk about your ideas about work.
Okay, first things first, we need the words, right? Let's start building up our vocabulary by looking at some common jobs and, the places where they happen.
All right, let's kick things off with a couple of jobs you probably already know. Over here, we have a doctor, someone who helps us when we're sick. And on the other side, a pilot, who flies airplanes. Two really different jobs, but both super important.
And how about two more? Here we've got a chef, the person who makes all that amazing food, and a police officer who works to keep everyone safe. Now, can you picture where they work? And that's the next logical question, isn't it? It's great to know the job title, but where does all the work actually happen? Let's try to connect these jobs to their workplaces. Okay, let's start with the doctor. If we want to talk about their workplace, we'd say, a doctor works in… Any ideas where that might be? Exactly, a hospital. So the full sentence is, a doctor works in a hospital. See how that flows? We have the person, the action, and the place. Nice and simple.
Now, let's try the same thing for our pilot. The sentence starts, a pilot works at. Where do you think a pilot's workplace is?
You got it. An airport. A pilot works at an airport. Now, did you notice that little word change? We said a doctor works in a hospital, but a pilot works at an airport. These tiny little words are called prepositions, and getting them right is going to make your English sound so much more natural. Okay, so we've got the words for people and places, but how do we actually put them together in a sentence? Well, we need the engine to make it all work, and that engine is our grammar. This is where the simple present tense comes in. It is absolutely key for talking about jobs. So what is the simple present tense? Well, think of it like this. We use it to talk about facts, things that are true, like I'm a student. We also use it for our habits and routines, things we do regularly. She studies every day. Basically, it's for stuff that's generally true about our lives.
Now this chart is your best friend. Just look at the patterns here. For questions with you or they, we use the word do. But look what happens when we ask about she. It changes to does. And you see the same kind of change in the answers. For they, it's they work, but for she, it becomes she goes. This chart really breaks it all down for you. Questions, yes answers, and no answers. Okay, if you only remember one thing from this grammar part, please make it this. For he, she, or it, we almost always add an S to the verb. So it's I work, but it's he works. It's you live, but she lives. This is pretty much the #1 rule of the simple present, and it's super important.
All right, enough with the rules, right? We have the words, we have the grammar. Let's see how this all comes together in the real world, because seeing language in action is where you really start to learn.
Let's meet Tom and Diana. They're just chatting, getting to know each other. And guess what? They're using the exact language we've been practicing. Let's listen in on their conversation.
And there it is, the first thing we talked about. Diana asks, and what do you do? It's the perfect, most natural way to ask. And see, she uses do because she's asking you, just like in our grammar chart.
In Tom's answer, it's a perfect example of the simple present. I'm a doctor, that's a fact. I work at a hospital, that's his routine. It's so simple, so clear, and totally correct. Now let's check out one more example. This is Marie Rodriguez. And wow, her life looks pretty busy. She's a student, but she also has a few jobs. Her story is a great real-world example of using the simple present to describe someone's life. So let's break down Marie's life with the simple present. She is a student. She lives with her parents. She has 3 jobs. She works and she studies. Look at those verbs. Lives, has, works, studies. See that S at the end of each one? That's because we're talking about she. This is exactly how you use this grammar to tell someone's story. All right, we have covered a lot. The words, the grammar, and we've seen it in action. So for this last part, it's your turn. Let's make this all about you and your ideas about the world of work.
You know, not all jobs are the same, are they? We can use adjectives, describing words, to share our opinions. Is a job difficult? Is it interesting? Maybe a job is dangerous, or maybe even a little bit boring.
A really great way to share what you think is to just start your sentence with I think. For example, you could say, I think a window washer is a dangerous job. What about you? Do you agree with that? And that brings us to our final big question for you to think about. Using all the language we learned today, what do you think makes a job a good job? Is it being rich? Is it helping other people? Or is it about doing something fun and interesting? There's really no right answer, but it's a great question to practice your English with. Thanks so much for joining me today.